Welcome to Hope Natural Health, the podcast inspiring you to be your best version. Join me, your host, Dr. Erin, naturopathic doctor, dog mom, cancer survivor, and girl boss weekly as we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Welcome back to the Hope Natural Health podcast, where I try to get you healthy the right way. Last week, we talked about what sugar-free really means, and this week, I am super excited to have a guest with us. Her name is Paige Penick. Apologize if I say that incorrectly. She is a registered dietitian and nutritionist, and also a certified personal trainer. So I am excited to have her here today to share her wisdom, her story, and talk more about some nutritional myths that we might see and how we can have a better relationship with food. So welcome to the show, Paige.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yay. Awesome. Well, let's dive right into this. Tell me more about yourself and how you got into the field that you're in, and pretty much just, jam on your story.
Yeah. I grew up in the middle of the continental U.S. And I remember, I think it was, I don't know if it was elementary school, middle school, but just starting to notice people's bodies. And that maybe, I, in my head, felt a certain way about my body compared to other people. And I'd say it was high school when I started trying to use food and exercise to change my body. And then moved out to Los Angeles, lived there for a couple of years as an actor. And that's when it really started happening, really using exercise and trying these different nutrition things. And I eventually got really annoyed and was like, this isn't working. I'm not happy. This is stressful. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to school and learn about this because I'm starting to question everything. So then I went to school, became a registered dietitian nutritionist, and kind of here we are now.
Oh my gosh, awesome. So how did what you said that prompted you to go to school change since you went to school?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that I was, and I think so many people are doing this, and that's what I think is so important, is we hear from the media and celebrities, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And we just get more and more rules and more confused about what am I supposed to eat? What am I supposed to eat? Do I do chlorophyll water? Do I do this? Do I do keto? And it's next thing you know, all you can eat is I don't even know, because pretty much everything's been demonized at this point. So
right.
And now, the approach has changed to, oh my gosh, I basically need to do the opposite of that. Okay, not the opposite, but finding a medium place. I hate the extreme. I'm really let's find a middle and chill out with all the rules because they're not working.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the rules that you've heard. I know you said chlorophyll and all of that, but what are some of the top common ones that you see?
It is, there are so many because it's always, I feel like it's always changing. There's always a new one. Right. There's always a new food and there's always a new thing. It's wait, what was the other one still good? Do I still do that? Lately, I say chlorophyll because that's right at this moment one that's going on. In general, I guess the way to say it in general is just more and more rules and more what you should do. And hey, here's this other new thing. But with that, oftentimes it's the same thing as the last time they tried to sell us. It's just now there's one slightly new rule, or they packaged it up differently. Right. So I kind of did it not answer your question, but yeah, there's so many.
No, that's fine. Yeah, there is tons of them, and some of them are okay, and some of them are what? That makes no sense. And I can see a lot of the marketing around it. It's the same thing but different wording.
Yeah.
Right. What, this is kind of the same question, but this is pretty broad. So in your experience and your schooling, what is a common nutritional myth that you see or hear?
Sorry, I'm struggling because I would say it's that the concept of less is more Like, eat less and your problems will be solved. And do this thing, and it's always, I guess I'm trying to give you a more thorough answer, but I would say the less, eat less. And so often, eat less and you will lose weight is like a lot of it.
Oh yeah. I see that every single day. I had a patient recently who said, I'm doing all the things, I feel better, but I'm working out and I'm eating healthy, but the scale will not budge. And so I said, well, are you eating enough? And she goes, oh yeah, I'm eating enough. And I said, okay, well, eating enough to you is great, but are we eating enough based on your body's demands? So, and when someone comes into my office and like, I'm working out like crazy and I'm eating well and it's just not budging. And I'm like, I guarantee she's not eating enough. So I see that all the time. And I think it's because we've been taught that our entire lives, like the less we eat, the more we're going to lose. Right?
Yes, 100%. And unfortunately, there are medical professionals that are still of that mindset that still, it's like, do you want to lose weight? Eat less. And so people think that's what they need to do.
And it's true in the fitness world too. Like a lot of coaches and fitness coaches are like, oh, eat 1,200 calories. It's like, oh man, like you're going to burn your metabolism, your poor adrenals, your thyroid, like all of it's going to tank. And yeah, you might lose weight in the beginning, but especially as women, like our bodies are not meant to do that, like that drastic cut. So, gosh, I know, I hear you. So I am appreciative for what you do for people so that they can, not buy into these, I guess, rules that are not even rules that are out there. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I started to get on a soapbox because you brought up like you just said about the less, like we so often it is all about just getting a smaller body. But the problem with eating less to a small body is we are ignoring so many things like stress, the actual, actually being, doing healthful things, like dealing with stress, dealing with what's going on emotionally. There's all these other pieces. We are human beings, and it's not as simple as A plus B equals C. And I just said,
yeah. So why do you think so many people have like such a bad relationship with food?
And this is my go-to, but I blame we are inundated, magazines, TV, celebrities, all saying, do this stuff. And it often contradicts, like it's about hot, sexy headlines so often. Yeah. And we don't read the whole thing, or like they contradict each other, like the new hip thing. It's so confusing. How like that's why I was so confused. I was like, what am I supposed to do? And that I don't blame people. It's so difficult when you're being inundated with junk. You're left going, what can I eat?
Yeah. So how do you, if you get a client like this, like how do you help them? Like where's the first step?
Yeah, one important piece is like say their goal is weight loss. So then we go, okay, why? Let me know your why. What's going on? Why do you want that? And usually it's something else. It's not really about weight loss. It's about all these other pieces. So let's look at those pieces and then figure those out. And then let's look at your stress. Let's look at your sleep. Let's look at all these other factors that are important to get you where you're wanting to go. And oftentimes weight really has nothing to do with it. And maybe your weight will be impacted, but we have to address all these other things because they're being ignored.
Yeah. So can you give us examples of some whys that you've been told and found that that's not really their why?
Yeah. Like, hey, I'd like to go hiking again. Or, I'd like to feel better. Sometimes it's I'd like to feel better about myself and about my body. And so, and then the immediate thing is weight loss. But no, like these other pieces we're talking about need to be addressed.
Yeah.
It's being, it's about relationships. I want to feel comfortable, or I feel like I see everybody else in a relationship and I want one too, but I'm self-conscious about myself. Things like that.
And then when you dive deeper into that, then you find out like there's more to it than just losing weight, like their sleep's not in check, their, things like that. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah. Well, yes, pretty much always. In emotional eating, overeating, cravings, the big things that I work with people around, like these topics, because they come into all of this. They come into weight. They come into how we feel about our bodies. These are things that so many people struggle with because they're following these rules, and the rules don't allow for this. And then they do this, like they get in a messed up cycle. Follow the rules. Oh wait, no, I broke the rules. I'm overeating. I hate myself. Okay, fine. I'm going to go back to the rules. Oh wait, no, I broke them. I hate myself. And getting out of that cycle, and then looking at like, why do you not care for how you look? What's going on there? Like, let's address that. Like the hiking, like, let's get you more, like, oh my gosh, there's so many pieces. So yes, we address those things.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about emotional eating? I hear that a lot. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you recommend? Because I hear patients, complain about that all the time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible at, I emotionally eat or I stress eat when, I'm not feeling well. So how do you recommend someone start with getting over that? I mean, I know it's not going to happen overnight, but do you have any tips that someone could start with?
Yeah, I think two big things that stand out. Oftentimes food is a Band-Aid for us. Food is a coping mechanism. We've learned it over, it's just become that way. And we maybe don't even realize it. So you've had a rough day, you've had a breakup, you've got whatever going on, and you go eat. And it's oftentimes mindless, or it's just the automatic. And so if there's other stuff like that going on emotionally, that needs to get addressed. That is one big piece. And another piece is a lot of times people are going without eating like 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. And we've been taught this weird thing. I feel like that like dinner is like this big meal, and I don't know, the other ones kind of don't really matter maybe. And I'm going, nope, like you need food throughout the day. You need to be eating ideally like every 3 or 4 hours.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes if you're going hours and hours and hours without eating, that is what leads you to the end of the day. All of a sudden you're in the bag of chips and it's half gone, and you're like, wait, what just happened? So if you're fueling yourself throughout the day, that can also be a way to slow that whole, oh my gosh, here I am, stress eating, emotional eating, how did this happen thing. Exactly.
Like it's the binge, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I'm just going to pick whatever is in the fridge or in the pantry. I hear this often, and I always recommend patients have a plan. And it's like, you need to prepare your food and or know what you're eating, because if you get to the point of the hangry feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to eat now because I've waited too long, you're going to make bad decisions. So I see that all the time. And the emotional component is so big. And it's interesting. I bet do you hear or realize that, or I guess have patients or clients come to realization like, oh, I have some crap I need to work through. Like they didn't even know that maybe they were emotionally eating. Have you ever had someone like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's this automatic, I talk about tool belt. Like life hands us different things. And if we can have these different tools on our tool belt for different scenarios, it comes in handy. Instead of like a diet that goes, just do this, A plus B equals C. Like, no, you need some other options. And so, yeah, a lot of times it is, oh, that's been a Band-Aid. Oh, okay, let me get out some other tools in this scenario that, maybe it's I need a therapist, or maybe it's, hey, I need to go journal, or I need to take a walk. I need to get out of the emotional for a moment and use a little logic, right, and pause and assess the scenario before I just go grab some food.
Yeah, that's so true. I always, with emotional eating or binge eating like that, I always ask, I'm like, ask yourself, why do you want this food? What is this going to do for me? And then if you sit there and think about it, because a lot of it is mindless and it's like subconscious, or we have bad habits. And we're just like so used to doing these things, or going, when you go to the store, we buy the chips, or we buy the bag of Oreos, or whatever the case may be. And then it's just there. So then we're trained, oh, okay, after dinner, I'm going to eat, 17 Oreos. It's just kind of something that is like a habit too. So it's good to ask yourself those questions and have, additional tools and figure out why you're doing the things you're doing, because it's not, I don't know, it's everything with life. It's like, why do I act like this? Why do I think like this? Why am I having these thoughts? Why do I want this food? Like if you sit there and really sit with your emotions and understand, or try to understand why you're doing these things, like a lot of realizations can come to life. And I'm sure you've seen that in your work too.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, and you bring up a good point. It's assessing it. And so often we're not assessing, we're just living in it. Mm-hmm. And I say the sooner you can start picking it up mm-hmm. and then like problem solving it, because afterward it's too late. So let's start picking it up earlier. And if we can pick it up and start trying to figure it out and assess it, then it helps for next time and the time after that.
Right. So true. Right. So true. So tell us a little bit more about your programs. I see you do some with like group coaching, and you also do one-to-one coaching. Yeah. Mostly the thing that I'm really passionate about is the program I have, the Start Feeling Better program. It's a hybrid program where there are group elements, because mm-hmm. research shows that actually having a community helps you get where you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. But it also has one-to-one elements, because I think that's super important. And we talk about things like this, emotional mm-hmm. eating, cravings, overeating. And I just love the traditional one-to-one doesn't always let you have interaction with the person mm-hmm. helping you very often. And so I love to be able throughout the week to help people out and help address these things. Yeah. Do you offer like meal plans or things like that to help these clients?
We do a lot of talking. It's breaking down nutrition and educating. Good. And then from there, breaking down some of these other things like we're talking about today, like, are you stress eating? Okay, why are you doing that? Like, mm-hmm. let's figure that out. Or, is it emotional eating? Are you overeating? Let's look into this and assess what's going on, breaking down these different things, talking about stress, talking about sleep. And within there, talking about, like, you're busy, probably most people mm-hmm. are. How do we do quicker food? How do we make nutritious food easier? You don't need to do a 3-course meal.
Right.
You need to do an hour, 2 hours of cooking. Let's make it simpler for your life so you don't have to like stress about it so much.
Yeah. And then the one-to-one coaching, like that's included in your group, but then you just offer completely one-to-one with people that don't want to necessarily be in that group setting?
I do one-to-one right now just for people specifically with eating disorders.
Oh, okay.
So it's not as much for the population we've talked about, but yeah, it's just for those. But but within the group, there is one-to-one with me within that group program.
So that's like your signature program, the Start Feeling Better. I love that. Start fueling better. Fueling, and everything will be linked in the show notes. And you also help businesses like with speaking and I guess education, as far as like what I'm envisioning with this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is like going to speak to businesses about healthy eating. Is that something that you do?
I do that sometimes. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Businesses oftentimes want that for their employees because this is stuff that impacts so many people. So, yeah.
Can you go speak to the school cafeterias, please? Because their meal choices at most cafeterias for these poor kids are terrible. And this is our future.
It's difficult. There are rules they have to follow, and then there's the logistics to get to those. Like there's a lot there. I think it's a complicated, difficult scenario that I don't mess with much, but I don't know what they need or how to solve that at this moment.
I know, but someone needs to solve it. It's terrible. Whereas I had a teenager, and I've had quite a few teenagers lately with either depression, anxiety, or like period problems. And I always talk about diet because that plays a role in everything. And then when I ask them what they eat, it's like, oh, well, I eat I guess some schools like offer breakfast, and one person said their breakfast was like a pancake on a stick. It was like a corn dog-ish type pancake thing. And I said, okay, well, that's nutritious. And then like chicken nuggets or pizza for lunch. It's like, oh gosh. So I'm like, well, no wonder you're not getting any nutrient-rich foods to feed your brain. So they have the anxiety and depression. They're also exhausted. I'm like, yeah, because you're not eating for fuel. So I'm like, dang, how can we fix? Maybe that's something we could go on a mission for, is to fix the cafeteria food. Do like some sort of campaign or strike and feed these kids better foods. I guarantee that they'll get healthier. And I think, like you said, they probably don't even know, or they don't even know what to do about it, really.
Yeah. And I get, like, when you're in a production place where you need really fast food, like lots of meals, like I think that's how, even within that time frame of a meal, like you have like, sometimes kids have like 10 minutes to eat. Yeah. There's so many problems. And I know districts vary and all that. So I'm not trying to, like, I'm not super in that space. So I don't want to speak incorrectly.
No, I know. Yeah, they don't have time. But that's another problem too. You should have time to enjoy your food and chew it.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges. Yeah, it's that you're right, that haven't necessarily been addressed or aren't being addressed well.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, wishful thinking, right?
Well, it doesn't mean it's not possible just because it hasn't been, better addressed yet.
True. So if anyone out there is listening, let me know how I can get in front, or me or Paige can get in front of school cafeterias so we can fix their nutrition, because that would be awesome. Awesome, Paige. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. But one question I ask all of my podcast guests is, what is your best or your favorite health tip that you can share with the listeners?
This is one a lot of people have probably heard, but I would say it's very general, but like moderation is key, or everything in moderation kind of thing. And get away from the extremes and come back, find a happy place for yourself. That's
really good advice. And I probably say that daily, multiple times a day, because I am all in moderation. I don't restrict myself. And if I want pizza, I'm going to have pizza. If I want, a tasty beverage, I'm going to have a tasty beverage, but all in moderation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I really appreciate you being here today, and I look forward to this getting spread out to the world. So as we close, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah. So startfuelingbetter.com. And I do free events every couple of months. The page is always updated. So people can come get free information. You can go to startfuelingbetter.com/event, EVENT. Come hang out and ask me questions. I'm happy to address some more of this with people.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. And that link will be in the show notes. So if you're listening, you can click on that. Anything that you wanted to add at the end, Paige?
I just would say that people don't let food become such an awful, stressful barrier to your life. Quit listening to all the junk out there. Don't it is possible to not have it be so stressful, and it's possible to find that, but shutting out that external noise is a really important step in getting there.
Oh gosh, such good advice. That's so true. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, and everything will be linked in the show notes. And again, thank you. I appreciate you being here. If you found value in this podcast, please share it with your friends. Tag us. Paige, are you on Instagram?
I am, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll put her Instagram handle in the show notes too, and tag us in your post. And we appreciate the love and support. And I will see you all next week.